The Prime Minister of Armenia, Nikol Pashinyan, formally announces his resignation ahead of the early elections coming this June. Also, Azerbaijan and Turkey make steps to prove that they are one nation and two states united in their hatred and genocidal mindset against Armenia. Finally, the world stage, the world community is moving closer and closer to the knowledge that Artsakh must be sovereign and cannot remain a part of Azerbaijan. Hello, everyone. Welcome to Sovereign Artsakh. I'm Michael Gavlak, a Hollywood producer, non-Armenian, who's focused on all things Armenia, Christian, and human. And that is our target audience in order on this channel. Hello, everyone. Welcome back. Before I move on, I'm just going to read this quickly, but please remember to subscribe and share this channel with your Armenian friends, your Christian friends, and your human friends. Now, one thing I want to mention up front about when I say Christian friends, many of you, if you're a Christian, but you have no idea why I'm talking about Armenia in that context, Armenia was the first Christian nation. That's why it's relevant. It's your history. If you are a Christian, anything going on with Armenia is relevant to you. Also, I want to mention at the end of this recording, I'm going to try and keep it short. It'll be longer than usual, but I'm going to talk about what happened, what was going on in the life of Sogolmon Tehlirian 100 years ago today. All right, I'll read this real quick. Armenia Prime Minister confirms he will step down to allow early election. Let's read it real quick. This is out of Al Jazeera from yesterday, March 28th. Armenia's embattled prime minister has confirmed that he will step down from the post in April in order to allow an early parliamentary election to take place. Nikol Pashinyan has faced months of protests calling for his removal in the wake of Armenia's defeat in last year's war with Azerbaijan. In a move to defuse the political crisis, Pashinyan 2 weeks ago announced that an early election would be held on June 20th. The elections were scheduled for December 2023. So that's a year and a half early. Under Armenian law, such elections can be held after a prime minister resigns and the parliament fails twice to choose a new one. I will resign in April, not to leave power, but to hold early parliamentary elections. I will continue to act as prime minister, as head of the cabinet, Pashinyan said Sunday in a meeting with residents of the village of Artsakh. He did not give a specific date for stepping down. Yeah, so that's big news. I'm not going to continue to read this. That's just the announcement. It's out. I'm not going to bury the lead. All right. Big news. Visa-free regime between Turkey and Azerbaijan to take effect on April 1st. What does that mean? A visa-free regime regime between Turkey and Azerbaijan will take effect on April 1st, allowing the citizens of both countries to travel without passports and new generation identification certificates used in the respective country. The press release states that this will strengthen the bonds between Turkey and Azerbaijan. The protocol on the visa-free regime was signed by the presidents of Turkey and Azerbaijan, Recep Erdogan and Ilham Aliyev, on December 10th in Baku. All right, these are essentially two Turkish nations. The ethnicity of Azerbaijanis is Turkish. If for some reason you're brand new to this channel and what I'm talking about, this should outline what I'm talking about. The ECHR judgments confirmed that killing of Armenian in Azerbaijan is encouraged by authorities. There's another article that I'm not going to read, but it mentions that there are no Azerbaijani prisoners of war in Armenia. There are 0 Azerbaijani prisoners of war in Armenia. However, there are many Armenian prisoners of war in Azerbaijan, but they don't call them prisoners of war. They call them terrorists. They're using semantics to skirt their international responsibility to turn loose the Armenians that they're keeping, torturing, and even killing. Let me read this. The president of Azerbaijan, authorities of this country have been implementing a policy of hatred, enmity, ethnic cleansing, and genocide against Armenia, citizens of Armenia, and the Armenian people for years. The Turkish authorities have done the same or have openly encouraged the same policy, human rights defender of Armenia, Armen Tatoyan, said in a statement, bringing just 3 examples of this. In his remarks at the Congress of the New Azerbaijan Party, the president of Azerbaijan proudly stated, Quote, the younger generation has grown up with a hatred of the enemy. By enemy, he means Armenia and the entire Armenian people, who are hated by a whole generation. During the military event in Baku on the 10th of December in 2020, the president of Turkey compared the war in Artsakh with the Armenian genocide in the Ottoman Empire and massacre of Armenians in Baku in September of 1918. According to him, that day was a day of glorification of the souls of Ahmed Javad Bey, Nuri Pasha, Enver Pasha, and members of the Caucasus Islamic Army. The ECHR judgments have confirmed that killing of Armenian in Azerbaijan has ethnic motivations and is encouraged by authorities. Therefore, no matter what process, program, or word are used, these foundational facts cannot be overlooked. All right, I'm not going to continue reading this, but there's a genocide that's been in the works for over a century, and it continues to this day. But some good news. Armenian foreign minister says international structures becoming convinced that Artsakh cannot be part of Azerbaijan. Foreign Minister of Armenia, Ara Avazian, says the international organizations, countries are seeing the destruction of the Armenian historical cultural heritage by Azerbaijan in Artsakh, the Azerbaijani inhuman treatment against the Armenian prisoners of war, are becoming more and more convinced that Artsakh cannot be part of Azerbaijan. During the session of Parliamentary Standing Committee on Foreign Affairs, the minister stated that after the recent aggression against Artsakh, it was clear to those countries and persons who wanted to understand what had happened that the Nagorno-Karabakh conflict is not just a territorial dispute between Armenia and Azerbaijan. This is about the prevention of a new genocidal program. Now, when different international structures, countries are witnessing how our cultural historical heritage is being destructed in the territories which have come under the Azerbaijani control, that inhuman treatment is shown to the Armenian prisoners of war, I think they gradually are becoming convinced that Artsakh cannot be part of Azerbaijan, he said. As for the upcoming activities in pushing forward the state and national agenda, the minister stated that regardless of the domestic political developments of the foreign ministry and the whole system have continued their normal operation. So Artsakh is trying to return to normalcy, even though some of the territory has been taken over by Azerbaijan. But the behavior of the Azerbaijanis, the continued war standing, the torture, the maintaining of prisoners of war and the torturing of prisoners of war and the destruction of Armenian historical monuments is showing their hand. They're showing the hand to the world. So the world stage, the international community is becoming more and more aware. It is my hope that the United States will pay closer and closer attention to this and use a little bit of influence to remedy the situation. What's the remedy? Sovereignty for Artsakh. All right, finally, as promised, 100 years ago today, Soghomon Tehlirian was approaching his 15th night in a Berlin prison. He had been transferred from the jail to the prison. I will show you the prison in one of these episodes. I'll show you where it is. I've visited it. I've been through the courthouse that's attached to the prison. But all I want to mention is he received a Bible. Tomorrow I will talk about like one of the first things he looked to in the Bible. It's interesting, but he got a Bible. Armenia being the first Christian nation, he grew up in a Christian home. His mother was the daughter of a preacher, so he's a grandson of his mother's father's grandfather on his mother's side was a preacher, and he was the grandson of a preacher man. And his mother taught him to memorize the Lord's Prayer from an early age. He talks about being at the dinner table and trying to remember it when he was about 7 years old, called upon to pray the Lord's Prayer, etc. So he received a Bible when he was in prison, so he had something that he would read, something he hadn't even, well, I won't go into those details. Remember, subscribe and share, and I'll see you guys tomorrow.